Hi guys, so this is an update on my What to Buy First series. I'm covering the Imperial faction for Star Wars X-Wing. So if you're looking to get into this game and you want to play Empire, this is where to start. Now I have done videos like this in the past, but this one is updated as of today, which is in January of 2018, based on everything that we have available right now. So if things come out in the future to this, then I'm obviously not going to have that incorporated into this video at this time. So full disclaimer, whenever wave 14 or whatever comes out, general rule of thumb, the newest stuff is often a good buy. So if something isn't in this list and it's come out after January of 2018, you probably want to go ahead and pick that up, because 9 times out of 10, a new release is something that you probably will want as a new player. This game does have a little bit of power creep. It handles it better than a lot of other games, but it's something that's kind of unavoidable when a game has been as successful for as long as this game has been. So newer stuff is generally pretty good. In some cases, though, newer stuff will enhance something that's older. So that you might see, sometimes an epic ship will come out that has fixes for TIE fighters, and new TIE fighter titles. And so that makes the TIE fighters see new life. Things like that have happened before. So occasionally something like that will happen. But 9 times out of 10, a new ship is going to be worth your money as well. So if it's not included here, you probably want to also get it. So if you're brand new to the game, I'm going to be ranking everything on what I think you should buy first. But there's definitely some bias in there. It's my own personal opinion. And what I do is I kind of rank all of these ships based on value is definitely a big factor. Like, how much are you getting for your dollar? And how reliant it is upon other expansions. Like, if this ship is great, but in order for it to shine, you have to buy 3 other ships, well, then it knocks it down a little bit in my list, because it's just not as good of a buy for you. And I'm going to try and talk about that if those come up. I also rank on how competitive it is. Some people get into this game and they want to play in tournaments, in leagues, and go into other stores and play in sanctioned events, and that's great, but some people also just want fun. So I weigh competitiveness and fun differently. And I'll talk about, like, if a ship is really, really fun but isn't necessarily competitive, I'll point that out as I go through the list, because some people just want to play casually. Also, it is worth pointing out that some things have changed in this game. So if you're brand new and you buy an older expansion, it's possible you may have some cards that have what's known as an errata, where they basically change what the printed value is. And this is something that's kind of unavoidable when a game is around it for as long as it is. I keep a list of the latest FAQ document and errata on Crabbok.com under errata lists. So go there and go to X-Wing. It'll point you to FFG's official FAQ. As well as I have some notes there as well on certain cards that have changed and certain things that you may need to know. And that's really only if you want to play with other people outside of your local friends and family. If you want to go to stores or travel and go to tournaments and things like that, it's important to know what things have changed, because you're going to interact with other people and they may be under the assumption that you're up to speed on everything. However, if you're a new player, it's totally forgivable if you're not up to speed on what's changed. People, this whole community is really good about flying casual and welcoming new players. So don't be intimidated at all. Even if you don't think you're ready for a tournament yet, don't worry about it. It's going to be great. You'll have a great time, and you get to play X-Wing all day. With all that said, let's go ahead and jump in on what you should buy first for the Empire. I've also done a Rebels video for that, so you check that out. And I'm also doing a Scum video. So there's 3 different factions in this game, and I'm going to cover all of them. So first thing is you're going to need the core set. Any X-Wing player needs a core set. There are actually 2 core sets. This first one is the red core set, we call it. This is the original core set from Star Wars Episode 4. It features Luke Skywalker and his X-Wing, and comes with 2 TIE fighters. Now, if you're only an Imperial player, you hold on to the X-Wing anyway for whatever. Maybe you just want to have something to do target practice on. But the thing is, it comes with cards for both factions, because when the game launched, it only had 2 factions. Later on, this core set was updated to be a Force Awakens core set, which has Poe Dameron and BB-8, and has First Order TIE fighters. Now, the thing is, you'll probably want to get both of these eventually, but for starters, I would say get the blue one first, because that one has the newest damage deck. It has, the First Order TIEs, which are arguably a little better than the regular TIEs, and but again, they all have value. And they also have exclusives. So there's going to be things in that red core set that you can't get anywhere else. So you're definitely going to want that at some point as well. It's probably a bigger deal for Rebel players than Imperial players, but still good stuff. So definitely you need your core set. It's a good idea to have 2 core sets anyway, so you'll have more dice that way. And it's really a good value because you're if you play more than one faction, you're getting 3 ships for one purchase, and they're usually only about $30 or so. So it's actually a pretty good value, and especially if you find them on sale. Like these have been on sale. They made a lot of these, and these have really been on sale on a lot of times. Almost any Black Friday you're going to find these on sale. So you can get a great deal. That being said, let's talk about some other good values that you should get. Imperial Veterans, amazing expansion. This is definitely the first expansion I would suggest a player get for a couple of reasons. For one, you're getting 2 ships in one box, so that's always nice. But for 2, these were both come out released as like fixes for the TIE Defender and the TIE Bomber. It comes with an alternate paint TIE Bomber and an alternate paint TIE Defender, which is great, but it also comes with really good pilots for them. It also comes with titles and all kinds of special upgrades for these ships to make them even better. So rather than go buy a TIE Bomber or a TIE Defender, buy this pack, you're going to get a better version of both ships, along with some extra cards if you happen to have more ships. So if you had TIE Bombers already, you'll have stuff that can go on that those other TIE Bombers can take advantage of. TIE Defenders, you get some more titles to go on your other TIE Defenders. All kinds of really nice ways to configure them. Especially the TIE Defender, which is one of the more competitive Imperial ships. So this is, this is an expansion that's going to bring you fun and competitiveness, as well as great value. So this is just it fires on all cylinders. Definitely pick up Imperial Veterans. Next up, one that's less competitive but a lot of fun and also very iconic for a lot of folks is Imperial Aces. Imperial Aces was meant to be a fix to the TIE Interceptor, which had been struggling for a while, and it still represents a way that the Imperials kind of struggle throughout this game. Right now, in this game, bombs heavily dominate what people are doing right now. So, and bombs are unavoidable. And that's the problem, is a lot of the Empire's ships rely on avoiding stuff and having high agility and dodging enemy fire. And that's what, these guys are great at, and it's a lot of fun. But in a competitive scene, so many players use bombs now that these guys can't avoid that, and then they just fall to pieces. And so, if you pick up Imperial Aces, I would say do it for the value and for the iconic look of the TIE Interceptor. You're getting 2 different alternate paint. There is a regular TIE Interceptor expansion as well, but this one gives you the red one for the Royal Guard one. It gives you the blood stripe as well, which was very common. A lot of people were doing these, on their own. But it also gives you some great pilots, some cool upgrades. It gives you some upgrades that you couldn't find anywhere else on the Imperial side. So if you sometimes you felt compelled to buy upgrades from the other faction. But it's just, if you're going to run an Interceptor nowadays, you kind of have to run some of the upgrades that come in this pack. So Imperial Aces, great value, a lot of fun, but not competitive. So if you're a really competitive player, you can put this one on hold for a little while. Alpha Class Starwing. So we're going to talk about the single ship expansions now. And basically, I've kind of broken things down into 4 different tiers. First, we had like the bundles, which was the core sets, and those ones we just looked at. Now we're going to look at like the high tier individual ships, and we're going to have kind of like a medium tier, and then we're going to have a lower tier. And we'll also talk about epic ships at the very end as well. So Alpha Class Starwing, this is the newest, one of the newest ships. This was from Wave 12. You may know this better as the Gunboat. Huge fan favorite here. Really nice sculpt. It's really been anticipated for a long time, and it's almost like you get 2 ships in one here, because it comes with 2 different ways that you can outfit it. It comes with a cannon mode and a missile mode, and it's pretty cool. It comes with a lot of upgrades, and it's a very self-sufficient expansion too. It still can make use of stuff because there's lots of ordnance out there, and this is really an ordnance delivery platform. And it's also a pretty tanky little ship, so it's not likely to get blown up very quickly. And what's great about this is it doesn't suffer from the weaknesses that a lot of Imperial ships have, and that they don't have. A lot of Imperial ships have like low or no shields, and only like 3 hull or so they get blown apart by bombs really quick. This one's a lot more survivable, which makes it great, and has the capability to deliver a lot of ordnance. It has the ability to reload ordnance, which is really cool. A lot of cool stuff with this expansion, and also it's brand new, so I definitely would suggest getting it sooner rather than later. Special Forces Tie. The Special Forces Tie is the one you may have seen Poe and Finn fly away in Star Wars Episode 7. Special Forces Ties have the little red on the side as well as the antenna on the shoulder. Other than that, they look very, very, very similar to the regular First Order Ties that you will have in the core set. And this is almost... It's kind of a bummer from a miniature standpoint, because as a miniature wargamer, you will kind of want to be able to look at the battlefield and say, okay, he's got... I can at a quick glance, I can see exactly where everything is. But because these were designed not by FFG, but by Lucasfilm to be so similar to the TIE FO, then it kind of is, it just takes a little bit of getting used to. So if you're a newer player to this game, you're going to have to get used to looking kind of close at the ship. That being said, that's where the similarities kind of stop. This is a great ship. It has the rear firing arc, and this was when this ship came out. We didn't have small ships with rear firing arcs, so it was great to actually have ships that could shoot out the rear. And this is kind of one of the hallmarks of this ship. It's got like a rear gunner in it, and it allows itself to to shoot twice. Even it has a title that can allow it to shoot twice, once out of the rear and once out of the front, if you want. And there's also a really great pilot in here called Quick Draw that can potentially shoot a whole second time. So if you do both, you can potentially have like 4 shots in a turn, which is really something. So really cool, really powerful card, and some of the better Imperial lists will be using one or more of these, because they're also survivable as well. Great ship. It'll also eat up a lot of points in your list. So if you're trying to come up with a cheap way to get to 100 points, this is not a bad option, because this one can be loaded up and can eat a big chunk of points. Now, this one, some of you might disagree. I have this one a little bit higher on my list because of the competitive nature. Now, the TIE FO fighter, as far as value in this case, it's a little bit lower. And the reason I say that is because if you've already bought the blue core set, you've already got 2 TIE FO fighters. So why am I telling you to get one already kind of in my top tier? And the reason for that is more along the competitive lines. And this ship, like all expansions, for X-Wing, they tend to basically put some kind of exclusive stuff in each expansion. So even if it's a ship you may already have from somewhere else, there's still incentive for you to go out and buy the individual expansion. And this one really makes the case very well for that. So you get Omega Leader is one of the pilots you get in here, and it's a really good TIE fighter. The TIE FO is better than regular TIE fighters anyway, because they have a shield, so they can last a little bit longer. They have some better maneuverability. They're kind of all around better, but they cost a little bit more in your list, so you can't swarm quite so many of them. But Omega Leader really has some fantastic abilities, and also you get some great upgrades in this pack as well. So it's just a good pack to get. But I definitely would suggest Omega Leader if you're trying to get into the competitive scene. Omega Leader is very, very nice. Next up, my least favorite ship in the entire universe, the Inquisitors Tie. I have a big problem with this ship dating back to years and years ago, and it's just it's almost like a joke now. I really don't have anything against this ship. I didn't like when it first came out, there was some drama. So it became a joke that I did not like this ship. So if you know me, you know I have some problems with it. But it's all based on the naming and stuff that they went with. This is actually a pretty good ship, but really only for the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor is actually one of the most competitive, Imperial pilots. And so he is I don't know if it's the most fun ship in the world out there, but it's not bad. But the fact is the Inquisitor can attack as though he were at range 1, even if he's far away. So if he can kind of stay in safety and then attack with the benefits of being up close, which is really nice for a lot of lists. That being said, he's still only a 3 attack die ship, but there's enough other goodies in this pack to kind of make it worthwhile. If you are, this is more on the lines of competitiveness and less on the lines of fun, although if you're a big fan of Star Wars Rebels, you may want this ship anyway, because this was seen in Star Wars Rebels, and it's kind of the precursor to the TIE Advanced. So this ship was called the TIE Advanced Prototype, and therein lies the reason that I had a problem with it, because naming schemes what they are, it wasn't allowed to take the same titles that the TIE Advanced could take, even though it's a TIE Advanced, just a TIE Advanced Prototype. So again, not a big deal, but it's a cool ship. Has its own title in there. It's and it has some survivability and has some utility. It's a pretty good ship. But the Inquisitor specifically is the pilot that you'll want to use out of here. Next up, the absolute newest ship from Wave 13 from Episode 8, the TIE Silencer. Now, this one I would have put a little bit higher. I generally tend to put newer ships a little bit higher on the list, but the reason I have this one a little farther down is just that it's only a single ship and it's awfully expensive. It's like twice the price of a normal ship. So it's it's a little bit less on the value factor. That being said, it's gorgeous. It's a lot of plastic. It's a lot bigger than just about any other small ship that you've ever seen before. It's absolutely huge, and it's a really well-rounded ship. It has 3 attack. It's got 3s all around the place. It's got shields. It's got hull. It's got great agility, and it's also got great maneuverability. It does have a pilot skill 9 pilot, but the only thing that's maybe not perfect about this ship is it doesn't have any pilots that are absolutely amazing. Like Kylo Ren is the pilot skill 9 pilot. And while his pilot skill of 9 is very, very good, his pilot ability isn't as good as certain other pilot abilities that are out there. So if you take him, you just kind of take him so you can activate last and shoot first. And then try to take advantage of your mobility and being able to like boost and barrel roll and kind of get all over the battlefield. It's meant to be a really, really premier high quality Imperial ship. It's just, if you're on a budget, you might not want to get this one first because it is a little bit on the expensive side. That being said, it's a cool ship, and I think it'll be a lot of fun to fly, and competitively, I think we'll see more of this ship in the future as well. The TIE Aggressor. So the TIE Aggressor was a fairly newer ship, and it was the first time the Empire had access to the turret upgrade. We have had a ship with a primary weapon turret before, but not the turret upgrade, which are meant to be like small little turrets that you add on to a ship. Now, and it's kind of hard for TIE fighters to have turrets anyway because they have the giant solar panels and everything. And so this one, because of the design of it, it can fit a turret on there. So thematically, it makes sense. It's just a cool ship that basically comes with a twin laser turret, so that's also good. So you don't have to buy across the aisle to the rebels to go pick up a K-wing to get a twin laser turret. But it also comes with a couple different ways you can load it out and make use of this. Like, it works well as a turret, but it also works well as a ordnance delivery platform because it comes with some cool missiles, which is also very nice. Has some decent pilots. It's a well-rounded ship, but it's happens to be very nice because it's the only way you can get turrets in the Empire. And some people really like those. Twin laser turrets are actually very, very competitive. It's not the strongest ship, so it's not as tough or as tanky as a Y-wing loaded up with a twin laser turret you might find in other factions. But it is, it's the only way they can do it. So if you like turrets, and especially if you're a newer player, turrets can be a little more forgiving if you make the wrong maneuver. So this way you can, you know what, I'm not pointed at you. Well, at least I have this turret, so I can still take a shot. The TIE Punisher. So I talked about bombs a little bit before. Bombs are pretty much dominating the meta game right now, or basically what everybody's doing and what you have to be prepared to face when you go to a competitive event. Bombs are pretty much running it, and the TIE Punisher it may look like a TIE Bomber at first glance, but it is twice the size of a TIE Bomber. This is basically meant to be like the TIE Bomber's grandfather. And it's definitely a better bomb delivery system. And it has a little bit of everything. It has the system upgrade, so that's really good. It's at the same time, though, the Empire doesn't have the same level of bombing support that other factions have. The other factions have crew that really can enhance your bombing potential, and this one doesn't. Also, the other factions have access to Captain Nim, and the Empire doesn't. So while this is still a good one if you want to do some bombing stuff, generally, if you want to be a bombing list, the Empire is not always the best way to get those. But this is still a good expansion. It also comes with extra munitions, which is great for any ordnance delivery set. So that's also very nice. Extra munitions is a really good card, and this is the Imperial way to get that. And coming in at the end of my top tier. First round of things to get is the T49 Decimator. This is an older ship. This came out in Wave 5 of X-Wing, but it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I think it's it's one of the biggest ships in the game. It's on a large base, though, so it's at least where it should be. It's probably the second biggest. I think the Ghost is the only ship that's actually bigger than this, but it's amazing. It's beautiful. And it uses up a lot of points. So for value, while it is expensive because it's a bigger ship, it's also going to easily be able to take up half of your list, so you'll have less stuff to fill up a 100-point list with. Also comes with a lot of upgrades. You get a lot of different upgrade cards and a lot of stuff to kind of grow your collection out inside of here. But also it's got a primary weapon turret with a primary attack value of 3. So it's very, very strong. Has 0 agility though, so it's meant to just be like a meat shield. But it also attacks pretty hard. So great ship. Not the most competitive, but solid. Also a lot of fun. Although some people aren't a big fan of turrets, because at its core, this game is a dogfighting game where you're supposed to be able to move and try to get people in your firing arc. And for a while, turrets were so common that people started to think that they had lost the feel of X-Wing. And so from a certain point of view, I would encourage you to definitely try out turrets because they are fun. They're great for a beginner. But the game is starting to get back to a point where being in firing arc is better. So turrets are starting to slip out of their effectiveness. All right, next into the medium tier of ships that are good, but maybe just not super great, is the TIE Striker. And this was a tough one because I kind of almost wanted to put this one in the top tier. There's a lot of things I like about this ship. It's just kind of been a little underwhelming. But basically, I do want to point out that this ship does have movable wings. So that much is awesome. The wings can flap up and then flap down, whether it's like, taking off or landing or however you want to have it set up. And I gotta give it some bonus points for that. That is just awesome. The TIE Striker has a couple of really good pilots in here, but I think it suffers because of the bombs, and that's one of the things that has really killed it. It doesn't have a really good way to stay alive, and it's meant to be kind of like a little bit like a glass cannon, similar to like how TIE Interceptors can just get completely destroyed by bombs. It's a little bit in that department. Not too much, but it's a little bit in that department. So that's why it rose above that. And if you can make it, I think this one also takes a little bit more skill because it's got adaptive ailerons, which give it extra maneuverability. But for a newer player, that can be confusing and it might end up flying off the board that way. So there's a little bit of a learning curve that goes into flying this ship as well. But very cool ship, great model, and it's from Rogue One as well. Next up, the TIE Defender. Now, the TIE Defender is a great ship, especially since Imperial Veterans came out, but I have it lower on here because if you probably already have one. If you've taken my advice and you picked up Imperial Veterans first, you've already got a TIE Defender. At this point, the only reason to get another one is so you can have a second TIE Defender. Now, Imperial Veterans does come with upgrades to make your older TIE Defenders better. So you're going to see other titles, you're going to see other things to put on this one to make this one up to the same level as those other Imperial Veterans TIE Defenders. So you're just basically picking this one up for two things. One, to have another TIE Defender to make use of all the upgrades in the Imperial Veterans box, which is great. And two, there are some unique stuff in here. You're going to get the pilots that come in the TIE Defenders, like Rexlar Brath and things like that. And those are good pilots too. So the TIE Defender is great. It's just, it's a little bit lower because you probably already have one. And the same thing goes for the TIE Bomber, which is next on my list. The TIE Bomber, you've already got one if you've bought Imperial Veterans, so you don't necessarily need it as much. But the TIE Bomber does also give you an extra bomber that you can use with some of the stuff from Imperial Veterans. But the TIE Bomber, in this case, also is giving you some pilots as well. And you're getting Major Reimer and Captain Jonas, both of which are actually pretty good pilots, and they do have a place in your collection. Next up, the Upsilon class shuttle. This one, originally, I probably would have put higher until after playing with it a little bit, then it was just hard to actually implement. I want to give this one a lot of bonus points because it's a beautiful model. It's very, very large, and it has moving wings. The wings totally go like whoosh, whoosh, like they totally move. So like anything that has moving parts is awesome. I love the moving parts. And the Empire is good for that. The Empire is really good for that. So, the Upsilon is on here. It comes with actually a lot of upgrades. Has a lot of stuff from the Force Awakens timeline, the sequel trilogy timeline. You're getting a lot of stuff there. This was the first time we saw Kylo Ren because this one's been out for a little while. This one also has 4 dice primary attack. Now that sounds super great, but this thing's actually hard to maneuver. It doesn't have that great a pilot skill either. And so while you do have this great frontal attack of 4 dice, it's harder to actually get shots off because it's not a very maneuverable ship. So it ends up being more of a support ship, but it's so expensive to run in your list, that there are better options, but it gets a lot of bonus points for being really, really cool looking and have. I mean, it's one of the best sculpts that's out there, and it has the moving parts, and it comes with so many upgrades. There's a lot of stuff that come in here. That's to just make it really great. Next up, the Slave One. The Slave One. Honestly, if you love the Slave One, and who doesn't, then by all means buy this one first. I just have it. It was one of the first ships to come out. I think it was in Wave 2 of X-Wing, and it's been overpassed by everybody else. It's not as competitive as it should be. I think it's still a fun ship, but one of the things is that once they decided they wanted to come out with a Scum and Villainy faction, they made new Slave One stuff for the Scum and Villainy faction. So this is actually a really good buy if you're going to play multiple factions. But there's different, fire spray. This is a fire spray. There's other fire spray cards for the Scum and Villainy faction. So this is almost a better purchase for a different faction, because the Imperial pilots kind of got left behind, and they're just not as good for this. They're not terrible, and I've seen successful lists using the Slave One. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it just leans more on the side of fun and less on the side of competitiveness. But it is still a good ship. It's got it comes with a couple of decent upgrades too, heavy laser cannon, all kinds of cool stuff like that. It's just not the best. But it is a very iconic ship, and it's beautiful. And sometimes a lot of people will buy this just to have it on their shelf. Now we're getting into the lower tier, and these aren't. I want to point out these aren't bad ships. Just the lower tier is ships that they have something that I think put them there. Whether they're just not viable to run right now, whether they require too many other things. Like maybe they're just really low value, because to make this work you need to buy 3 or 4 other expansions, or if maybe they're just not fun currently, or maybe they've been nerfed. So first up is the Lambda. Now, the Lambda is not a bad ship, not at all. It actually gets a lot of use. But for a new player coming in, the Lambda is primarily used as a carrier for Emperor Palpatine, because it has a low point cost, and Emperor Palpatine is very, very expensive, that you have to basically buy a Raider. So you have to buy a $100 ship just to make this one hit the table. And I mean, you don't have to, but that's what people do, because on its own it's not necessarily very good, but once you add Palpatine on there, it used to be great, but Palpatine got nerfed, and he's in the FAQ. He's only he got nerfed quite significantly, but he still has value. And there's still a good case for bringing Palpatine on a Lambda and bringing him into a competitive scene. But at that point, you've got a very expensive ship, because you spent over $100 just for that ship to have Palpatine on it, and that's really one of the problems I have with this ship. Other than that, though, it does have movable wings. This was the first ship to have movable parts. I think technically the Millennium Falcon was, because the dish moved a little bit, but this was the first ship to have significant moving parts, and it also comes with a lot of good upgrades. There's a lot of really cool upgrades that come in this ship. It is a fun ship to fly. It's just very, very hard to fly too for a new player. He doesn't have the ability to turn around very much, so it's tough. It's a tough one. Next up, the TIE Phantom. I love the TIE Phantom. It's just not good right now. The TIE Phantoms were amazing for a long time, because this was a ship that could cloak. And this kind of changed the game. It turned the game on its head for a while. The meta was all TIE Phantoms. You had to either fly TIE Phantoms or fly a specific counter to TIE Phantoms, and that was it. It was like rock and scissors, and there was no paper, And so that was TIE Phantoms for a long time, and then they really nerfed the way cloaking worked, and then TIE Phantoms kind of faded out of use, and they weren't really used as much anymore, because they don't have that high a pilot skill with the TIE Phantoms. So like your highest is a 7, you have to give them veteran instincts to have 9. Now you can't put anything else on there, but now so many people are coming in higher than 9, you're not even going to be able to shoot first, and it's very much a glass cannon. And if you can't, stay cloaked, if you can't hide, and you used to be able to stay decloaked and then decloak before you moved, and it was great. But now you have to decloak at the start of activation. It's tougher, because now people have, if you don't have the highest pilot skill, you're going to get killed. They do have a 4 primary attack, which is great, but they also have been known to just get one-shotted. So they can be killed in a single shot, which is rough. kind of unforgiving, not very competitive, but definitely a lot of fun. I love the ship. I absolutely love the ship. Because I do like the whole glass cannon mentality. I like putting it all out there and saying, okay, this will be a quick game. I'm either going to blow you up right away or you're going to blow me up right away. We're not going to sit here for 2 hours flying circles around each other. Let's just go. I really like that about this, but it has very little place in a competitive meta right now, especially with bombs. Bombs have made it even worse because when you were cloaked, you got extra defense dice, you had a better dodge chance, and that doesn't do anything against bombs. So it's really hard to make these guys really, be back to as good as they used to be. Next up, the TIE Interceptor pack on its own. So I've talked about how, the weakness of the Imperial ships and how bombs are having such an important part of that. The TIE Interceptor is probably the most infamous for it because they only have 3 hulls, 0 shields. They're probably the squishiest ship in the universe. And while they also have 3 primary attack and they're decent gunships, they rely on being able to dodge hits. But there's so many bombs right now that their ability to dodge hits is meaningless. There's so much guaranteed unblockable damage in the game right now. That's why that's why the Phantom is no good. That's why the Interceptor is no good. However, the Interceptor is very iconic. And so a lot of people want the Interceptor for the fun factor of it. And some competitive players might even want the Interceptor for the challenge of it, to see if they can make a winning list with Interceptors. And that's kind of cool too. But then now you're getting into a really niche little kind of corner. But the reason why this one is also so low is that you probably already have to, if you like these guys, the better value is to go get Imperial Aces, because then you're going to get 2 ships. I will say there's still some value to come back and pick this one up though, because you're getting Soontir Fel, who is the best pilot. Or, as far as just pilot ability, he's a great pilot. He's the best interceptor pilot there is. He's pilot skill 9, so you can pump him up higher. You can pump him up to 11 if you need to, but usually people leave him at 9 and give him push the limit. So Soontir Fel is really, really good. And also, this is funny because in the Imperial Aces set, you don't get the cheapest generic. So if you get this pack, you can also get the 18-point Alpha Squadron, which if you're looking to swarm some ships, if you wanted to swarm a whole bunch of interceptors, you could fit quite a few at only 18 points each. So Alpha Squadron only found in this pack. It's another good thing about this pack. But still, it's more of a fun factor thing than being competitive. Next up, the TIE Fighter expansion. So if you've already picked up your core sets, you've already got 2 TIE Fighters. You don't really need another one, but you do get some unique pilots in this one as well. Howl Runner is really good for swarms, but swarms almost don't ever happen anymore because there are so many area of effect. Bombs tend to do a lot of area of effect stuff. Bombs are completely swarm killers. Harpoon missiles are out now. Those are swarm killers. There's so many swarm killers, assault missiles. There's so many things to discourage you from flying close together, and that's what Howl Runner's whole entire concept is. It's still worth getting, if you want to be a completionist, and Howl Runner still has a place in some lists. She's not bad at all. It's just right now she's not good, but again, she's worth having. She's worth using from time to time, but it'll be more for the fun factor rather than for the competitive set. And last on my list is the TIE Advanced. The TIE Advanced, there's a few pieces of difference between the Lambda and the TIE Advanced. You see, the TIE Advanced was almost initially seen as a failure of a ship. It was not very good at all with only 2 primary attack and was supposed to be like Darth Vader's ship. So what happened is eventually the Raider came out and had a huge fix for the TIE Advanced that made it a lot better. But it's still not that much better. It's definitely better, and I like the TIE Advanced. It's one of my favorite Imperial ships. It's probably my favorite Imperial ship. But it's not super competitive. It's mid-range competitive once you have the upgrades from the Raider. And there's some new pilots in the Raider too, but now you're talking about you need a $100 ship just to get the upgrades to make this one viable. And at that point, it's still not really seen in a lot of tournaments. Whereas the Lambda with Palpatine, you will see in tournaments. So the Lambda is actually more competitive once you spend your $100 on the Raider. Whereas the TIE Advance is less competitive, but still maybe I would call it mid-range competitive. It's definitely fun. I love the TIE Advance. It's very iconic as well. But also, you're going to be getting the Raider. The Raider actually comes with a TIE Advanced. So this marks the end for the single ships. Now we're going to go to Epic. So first, if you're going to buy any of these Epic ships, which they're expensive, this one's about $100. You'll want to start with the Imperial Raider. Now the Imperial Raider does come with a TIE Advanced of its own. It doesn't have all the same upgrades as the other TIE Advanced. You know, the individual TIE Advanced pack has Darth Vader in it and Merrick Steele, whereas this one has new pilots like Juno Eclipse, which is actually really cool. But the Raiders, it's a beautiful ship. They designed this one to go into the game. They worked with Lucasfilm so that they could have a triangular looking thematic ship that wasn't as big as a Star Destroyer, and they came up with this. I think they did a great job. It's one of the most beautiful ships. You've also probably seen the Raider in Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is very cool. You've at least seen this version of it. There's also another version in there. But yes, cool ship. Comes with the Emperor, comes with a bunch of TIE Advanced fixes. This was meant to be a fix across the board. It was finally meant to give the Empire their first epic ship, and also fix a whole bunch of other things. So this one, if you're not playing Epic, this is a good first buy to get because it has so much for the rest of the game. Next up would be the Gozanti. Now the Gozanti actually has a little bit of value. It's not quite as expensive as the Raider, and it does come with 2 TIE fighters and a bunch of new TIE fighter pilots. But at the same time, it doesn't have as much. It doesn't really fix a whole lot in the core game. The Gozanti actually, or the Imperial Assault Carrier, it actually fixes Epic play because it comes with some good upgrades for anyone who wants to play Epic. So but the problem is, if you're on a budget, you're not going to jump right into Epic because now you have to fill 300 points worth of stuff. It is still a cool ship, and what I love about this ship is that it can actually dock the ships. They physically dock underneath of it, and you can have like 4 TIE fighters or 4 TIE interceptors or whatever underneath that. And it looks really, really cool. This is actually a really cool ship just to have on your desk or on your shelf or on your wall or something like that. But that is everything, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment, and you're automatically entered to win the latest giveaway, which is an expansion of your choice for a Cool Stuff gift card. Only thing you need for that is a $20 Cool Stuff gift card. You can put it towards whatever you want. But yeah, just be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my other videos. You're automatically entered for that. But yeah, if you like this video, I also appreciate the thumbs up. Share it with your friends if you know some new people who are thinking about getting into X-Wing. My goal is for this to be helpful for all those new players thinking about coming in but kind of feel overwhelmed because there's so much out there. I will do more of these as years go by and we get more stuff. But in the interim, because I can't do a new video every single wave, because it would become just too much. But in the meantime, if something else has come out that I haven't covered here, I would probably guess that it's going to be something you want, because usually the newest stuff tends to be a little bit better, or at least closer to the top. So that's me trying to future-proof this video, at least for another year and a half or so. Stay tuned for the Scum video. Check out my Rebel video if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.